Hi, welcome to Know Your Neighbors. I'm Sunny Goldberg, and it's nice to be back. And I am doing actually one of my favorite shows, and I've got to hurry this up because we've got so much to do. Sitting with Susan Riley, Mamaroneck Library Director, Laura Eckely, Larchmont Library Director, and this is our holiday book show. So, girls, ladies, let's start. Suze?
Okay, well, actually, I think Laura's going to start
Yes.
with the first hostess books.
Oh,
We're going
great.
to jump right in because we have so many books to talk about. And one of our favorite categories for the season are hostess books because so many of us go to parties and events where we need to bring
That's
something
great
to
for
our
all
hostess.
year.
Absolutely. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Cooking for Jeffrey by Ina Garten. And I think I've talked about
Ina Garten.
Garten before here. She, of course, has her TV show, The Barefoot Contessa,
Right.
which we all love. And this is her 10th cookbook. And this one focuses on her relationship, her 48-year-long marriage to her husband, Jeffrey, who is often featured on her show. And it's a very intimate look at their
So
relationship.
these are his favorite.
These are his favorite recipes. And the stories behind why she cooks them for him or how she came to cook for
That's
him.
wonderful.
It's a really intimate look at their relationship. And, of course, the recipes are incredible. And there was a very recent article in The Atlantic that compares their marriage to Jay-Z and Beyonce. It's a great article. So it's,
Oh, I think I read that.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it was
So have
it was
you tried
great.
any of these?
Yes.
I have. So,
Oh, good.
And one of the things, sometimes people complain that Ina's cookbooks have repeats, but what I have found is that even if she's repeating a recipe, there's a twist or a change to it that makes it worth
a
trying.
little something.
Absolutely. So from this particular cookbook, I have made the lamb stew and the Guinness brown bread. They're incredible, and I'm making them for one of my holiday parties in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Sounds great.
Yeah, very good. Now, if that's not up your alley, Ina uses a tremendous amount of butter.
And she does.
She does. Another cookbook that I'm recommending is Appetites by Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, I love his show on PBS.
His show, it's on CNN, it's called Parts
CNN,
Unknown.
right.
It's incredible, and he's a wonderful storyteller, raconteur, explorer. He's written some of my favorite books about cooking that don't actually contain recipes.
And he eats some things that I can't imagine. And we were
Crazy
just watching
things.
him in Cuba. What he was eating.
I think my favorite one is Kitchen Confidential, though.
I agree. That was the book. Kitchen Confidential actually started my interest in reading cookbooks. I love to read cookbooks, even if I don't cook many recipes from them. There's always a story there. The best cookbooks
Does
have a story
Anthony
and a
tell
narrative.
the story of the people?
He does. So in this cookbook, this is a very personal and intimate cookbook where he talks about his home kitchen and how he likes to feed people and what he makes at home for his friends and his family and the people that he cares the most about. And it's a very interesting book, and it's got some great recipes in it. Recipes from all over the world, as well as things like scrambled eggs.
Okay, so that's two.
Two good hostess books. And then you have...
And my recommendation for a hostess book is The Magnolia Story, which, of course, is Chip and Joanna Gaines. They're like the power couple on TV, on HGTV. The most adorable, charming, wonderful relationship with their 4 little kids, and what they do is they
Could it really
renovate
be that
houses.
perfect? I don't know.
I hope so.
You know, if you watch the TV show,
Okay.
it actually, I mean, you can really see the love between them, which is so nice. Such a change,
Right, yeah.
you know, from all the hatred that's going on these days. It's wonderful to see these beautifully decorated, beautifully photographed book, and it explores the relationship,
that's
how they developed this.
Magnolia.
The Magnolia Story, which is the name of their store.
That's what I was trying
Okay, and so it's a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful book. But going back to Anthony Bourdain, I kind of have another book to recommend called Sweet Bitter, which is like the antithesis of Anthony Bourdain's book. Okay, Sweet Bitter is a fictional book by Stephanie Danler, and it's about a young woman who's 22 from somewhere in the Midwest who comes to New York City. You know, she's going to make herself, you know, a life in New York City. And she starts by getting a job as a back waiter in the lower New York City's most exclusive restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Well,
She learns a lot.
boy, does she learn a lot. It's dirty and it's gritty, and there's some violence, and there's sex, and there's drugs, and there's food. The food and the drinks are just like almost sensory when you read this book. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. not for the little ones, of course, you know, not for teens. I think this is really an adult book.
Okay.
Very much an adult
Sweet
book.
Bitter.
Sweet Bitter. It's one word, so it's very, very good. And then I have a book to recommend for the thriller lover in your life. You know, I mean, that's my personal favorite genre is thrillers. And one of my favorite authors is a man called Harlan Coben, who's from New Jersey.
Every book he writes. I mean, he must have written how many?
They're so consistent. All of his books. They're nice. They're quick reads. They're a lot of fun. In this particular one, this is his 11th book featuring Myron Bolitar. And what happens in this book is 10 years after two little boys are kidnapped, they find one of them.
Wow.
They find one of the boys, and the twist is what happened to the other boy. And what's the real story? What really happened to this boy?
Well, he's
so it's
good.
very exciting.
And you can't
there's,
put him
There's a
down.
little twist at the end, but it's believable, you know, which is my criteria.
And that's Home.
It's called Home. Yeah, just a single word, Home.
Okay.
Okay. You're going to talk about another thriller,
I am.
right?
So the thriller that I'm recommending is The Woman in Cabin 10
Oh,
by
I
Ruth
read
Ware. This book was incredible.
Good book.
And Susan and I have
Talk
recommended
about twists.
incredible
Yes,
twists.
yes.
One of the books that we've recommended here in the past was Girl on the Train, which now has
Yeah,
been made into a movie.
yeah.
I would not be surprised if this book follows suit. So this is a tightly wound story.
And they're on a ship.
They're on a ship. They're on a luxury cruise
That's right.
liner. It's been compared to Agatha Christie. It's the story of a journalist named Lo Blacklock who writes for a travel magazine, and she is on assignment, the assignment of a lifetime.
Well, because her boss is not able to go, so she gets this perk.
Correct. She gets this wonderful
Right.
trip to write about this incredible luxury cruise, and it is a wonderful experience until something terrible happens, and she sees a woman being thrown overboard.
She certainly thinks she does. That's no doubt about
Yes.
it.
Yes.
And what happens is that no one is missing.
Right.
All of the passengers are accounted for, and this is the story of her desperate attempt to convey to the
Right.
people on the ship that something has gone wrong and the mystery behind it all. And it's twists and turns and
And it
a
actually
thrill a
starts
minute.
out with her being attacked. And so they think that she is just having emotional.
She's being hysterical.
probably being
yeah.
hysterical.
Yes.
It's a great read.
It's a
I can
great
personally
thriller.
tell you, yeah.
And I'm hoping that they turn it into a movie.
I think it would be a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's
so.
next?
Okay, then I have one for the person in your life who was a big Stephen Hawking fan. There is a new book out by one of our favorite authors, who is Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is the director of the Hayden Planetarium. And this book is called Welcome to the Universe. It's like an extremely well-written, bite-sized guide to understanding black holes and quasars and
Regular
our
people?
Earth and
Regular people.
regular
Absolutely.
people. He and a team of two other people who teach regularly at Princeton have taken it upon themselves to create this book, which is also beautifully photographed. Of course, it weighs a ton. I mean, you get strained carrying this book around, but it's a beautiful book and it's a perfect gift. It's really, really
You
great.
know, it's interesting you say that. I hope this doesn't sound, but it's very difficult to find good presents for men.
Yes.
Oftentimes, or
Yes.
somebody in your office. Sounds like a good.
It's a great book for someone, maybe your uncle, your brother, your nephew, you know, someone who,
Or a woman with a
absolutely,
scientific,
absolutely,
but,
especially with girls in science
That's
now,
right.
girls who code and all the STEM movements. This is a wonderful, wonderful book that I think anybody would enjoy. For myself, I read it in bite-sized pieces.
Oh, you have to.
Because
I would
it's the quality and the quantity of information can just be astronomical. Ha 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 ha.
Very good. Okay.
Now, and speaking of girls in science,
Yes.
to pair with this book, I have The Glass Universe, How the Ladies of the Harvard Observatory Took the Measure of the Stars by Dava Sobel. So Dava Sobel is the author of Galileo's Daughter, which was a hugely
Oh, that was so-
popular
yes.
book. Yes, absolutely.
Did it for book club.
This tells the largely unknown story of how during the mid-19th century, the Harvard College Observatory employed women as human calculators to interpret the observations of their male counterparts that they made by telescope each night. So the men would make observations through the telescope at night, and then the women, mostly their wives and daughters,
We're watching them
would look at the photographs and make make observations about the photographs that were being taken.
So whether they were really intrigued, or they, I mean,
Well, they were.
Did they opine on their thoughts of how the husbands or loved ones
They made
were?
many important discoveries, and they forged the way for women in astronomy. Because what ended up happening is it started out being wives and daughters, and then it turned into graduates of the recently formed women's colleges in the area, Vassar, Wellesley, and it opened the door for women in astronomy to have a career in the sciences.
Love it.
So, yeah, and of course she's an incredible storyteller. So it's told in a very approachable and interesting way.
That's the whole thing. Both of those books sound approachable, which is very important.
Very, very important, sure, especially as a gift. You want something that somebody's really going to enjoy and not have to struggle through.
And this one's good for anyone that's interested in science or astronomy or in reading about incredible women. And I just want to say about the book that Susan talked about, Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, his gift is making science approachable to people. And when you hear him on TV, he's often on PBS, he's frequently on news shows and talk shows. He's so...
his language is
speaks
down to earth.
in layman terms, so that anyone can understand it and can enjoy it. That's the important part.
And think about what a nice gift it would be to give this book along with a trip to the planetarium. Right?
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
that's
it's
actually
it would be a really nice day.
And you could even write on it. Here's for you. I can't wait to make a date with you. And great idea.
Yeah, yeah. But let's turn to something a little lighter. Yes. Okay. Born to Run. Who doesn't love Bruce Springsteen? I mean, really, this is the music biography of the year, I think. You know, there's always so many musical biographies. Fortunate Son is one that comes to mind as a recent book, but Born to Run.
I just stood in a bookstore and looked at the pictures.
The pictures are wonderful.
He's so adorable, and on the front.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with his humble roots, you know. It's a working class family. And it goes into his development of his music, his political views, his life philosophy. He really develops into a full person.
Actually,
through
even
this book.
discusses depression.
Absolutely.
Because I watched him on 60 Minutes, and quite interesting that he really was unable to move during the only thing he could do was play music.
Right, right. And that was his salvation. And that's how he explored his life through music, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful book that
anybody out there want to get me a present. I vote for Born to Run.
Who wouldn't want this book, really?
You're absolutely right. Good choice.
Perfect gift.
Okay. And I have another book that falls under popular culture. It's called Avid Reader, A Life by Robert Gottlieb, and it is an autobiography of Robert Gottlieb, who was the editor-in-chief at both Simon & Schuster and Knopf. And during that time, he edited a truly astonishing list of authors, including Toni Morrison, John Cheever, Doris Lessing, John Le Carre, Michael Crichton, Lauren Bacall, Katharine Graham, Robert Caro. I'm not done. Nora Ephron and Bill Clinton. I mean, the list, and that's just a sampling of the authors that he edited. And
I would take that job without pay.
Absolutely.
Just to meet those people.
100%.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be great. Yeah. To talk to people about the wonderful people about books and to edit
So
them.
he's an avid reader?
He's an avid reader and an avid editor. And this is really the story of the arc of his career and the incredible success that he experienced and the incredible authors that he worked with in that time frame, and just interesting stories about each and every author that he helped to bring their book to fruition. And it's great. It's great for people that are interested in popular culture, but for that true reader in your life, this is a real gift.
Well, what's nice is that some books do name dropping. They'll talk about celebrities or whatever. But maybe those celebrities are not so important in your life. These are authors. These are authors. Authors that we know and we love and we appreciate and we value. And so his insight, I'm sure, must be really valuable.
Very.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's wonderful.
Choice. I love it.
So you were going to talk about a book for teens, right?
I am. So my choice for teens While it's a choice for teens, I would actually recommend giving this book to anyone. It crosses that line into something that many adults in your life will be interested in. It's actually the third book in a trilogy, and I recommend giving all three books, so I'm cheating a little bit. This is three
Are
books.
they in paperback?
They are.
Okay.
They're actually graphic novels, and it's called March, Book 3. It just won the National Book Award for Young People's Literature. It's written by Congressman John
Lewis. Oh.
along with
Everybody must read this book.
Everybody must read this book, along with Andrew Dean, and illustrated by Nate Powell. So this is Congressman Lewis's firsthand account of the civil rights movement. And this third book, which has won the National Book Award for Young People's Literature, is the culmination, ending with the marches in Selma and in Montgomery.
And crossing that bridge and his
Crossing
being
that bridge,
beaten
yep.
and, oh my God.
And while it's in the graphic novel category, there's a very interesting segment on NPR recently about how we need to stop calling some of these books graphic novels. First of all, it's not a novel, it's nonfiction, and it is a
Right.
real first-person account of historical events. It's a very, very important body of work, these three books. It's a wonderful gift to give to a teenager, anybody that's interested in, somebody that's taking AP US history,
Right.
or that's interested in history, or interested in civil rights, which hopefully all
I
of our
didn't
young
mean to
people
indicate
are.
that it's violent. It's not just violent. It has the whole.
It's real.
It's the
real,
struggle.
It's the
and
struggle.
and the fight, and to hear it from him.
Yes.
And he's getting up there, and he's one of the few survivors. Of
He
it.
is, and it's interesting that that he allowed his story to be recorded in this way as a graphic novel till they come up with a better term. We're going to keep calling them graphic novels, but this graphically illustrated work of nonfiction, it makes it approachable for teenagers who might not pick up a thick book about the civil rights
Right,
movement,
right.
but who can read this and really come away with a complete and thorough understanding of those years and that time.
Wow.
I
Good
think it
suggestion.
brings a very approachable
does.
perspective.
I would assume
to a serious
that some
thing.
of the high school classes will probably assign or suggest
Outside
a
reading
read.
or potentially summer reading, I'm sure it'll be
Yeah,
on the
I bet
list.
it's on the
Yeah,
list.
Yeah.
Good one.
should be.
Now I have one for the children, okay,
Oh,
a picture book.
Oh,
And this one was recommended by our head of children's services,
this
who's
is a grandma talking here. Right.
Terry Numa, who's a wonderful librarian, recommended a book called The Marvelous Thing That Came from a Spring. And it's by Gilbert Ford, and it describes the invention by Richard James, who was an engineer, who was an entrepreneur, who was all kinds of little things, and he discovered how to make a spring into a slinky and how to market it.
Oh, wow.
So this is another great picture book that you could buy a slinky and wrap it all together and have it as a wonderful gift. And it's probably, I would say it's probably a good gift for ages 3 on up. It's a really wonderful
It's
book.
funny because we were talking before the show, someone had met the illustrator.
That's right, that's
Obviously,
right,
the
yeah.
illustrator is particularly important.
The illustrations are very unique. They're very different than the types of things that you see in most picture books. And I think most people will really, really like the illustrations, and I think there will be some people who don't like them.
Huh.
So it's the kind of thing you want to go to your local library and take a look at it, or go to your local bookstore and take a look at it before you pick it up and to purchase it. It's really a charming book.
So a young child from...
Young child from like 3 or 4 on
On
up,
up.
you know, but I would package it with a slinky.
Oh, I like this packaging concept. This is new for us.
Yeah.
Any others?
I have a couple of fiction books to talk
Oh,
about.
good. I have a couple
Okay.
of fiction books to talk about.
So we're going to talk about The Girls.
Ah,
This is one of the big books of the year. It really was. This book is set in 1969 in Northern California, and the funny thing about it is that I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I remember that. I
Oh, God,
remember
yeah.
those times, right?
Yeah.
And a very nice, quiet girl who doesn't get along
Yeah.
with her mom. Evie, she's unhappy. Her mom's a single mom. One day in the park, she sees a group of hippies,
Yeah.
you know, and she is so intrigued, and she thinks, this is what I want. I want to be one of those
I wanna
free
be part of a
girls.
group.
I want to dance around in a pretty dress and and do all those fun things. But what she doesn't realize is the dark undercurrent
Boy,
in
is it dark.
in that situation, in a Charles Manson-like sort of a scenario. And so this book, set in 1969, is just like a really interesting book for older teens and adults.
It was hard for me. I read that book, and it was very hard for me.
You
because
mentioned that,
it
yeah.
was so real.
Yes,
it's
as
very
you just
real.
Said.
Very real.
And Manson and the killings and how she got sucked in, and it is important to see that though. There's some bullying, and there's some pushing her, and
how people can get swept up into a movement. And
especially
we all,
young women.
Yes.
Especially young women. And
so she was very vulnerable.
She was.
Yeah.
My daughter, I have a 19-year-old daughter who likes true crime, and true crime is having a little bit of a renaissance right now because of all the podcasts that are out there.
Oh, right. Those,
the stories that you can
stories
listen to.
that you listen.
And I gave her this book, and she loves it. And while it's not true, it's so close.
Well, it's so based on the Manson
reality,
family.
based on the Manson family. That
Yes.
if you have a true crime lover, this is a good book for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we move across the pond to Australia, to Sydney, and I'm recommending a book by a popular author called Leanne Moriarty, and the book is called Truly Madly Guilty. Okay.
I know the other book.
You know her two other books that I enjoyed very much were called Big Little Lies and The Husband's Secret.
Big Little Lies blew my mind.
And it's coming out as an HBO movie.
Oh, you're
Oh, is
kidding.
it? I didn't know about
Painful,
that. Okay.
painful, cried, but so well written.
Very well written, very engaging.
Yeah.
You really relate
love the
to these
characters.
people. In this book, there are three couples. One couple, Clementine is a cellist, and they have two little girls, and her best friend, and the best friend's husband, and then there's a neighbor couple. And one day they are all at a barbecue together, and they're all drinking more than they probably should, and one of the little girls falls into a fountain.
Oh, no.
And nobody notices right away. And then she is saved. She is saved.
Oh, good.
She's saved.
saved.
All right. But the fallout from this event and who is blaming who, and the strain that it puts between these relationships is so visceral. And you find yourself relating to one character and then to another character, and then it's told through the eyes of one of the husbands or one of the wives,
sounds right.
or the neighbor wife who was a stripper formerly, or whatever. It's just such an engaging, good read. I will say it's a little bit slower in the middle than I like, but the ending absolutely makes up for it.
Okay, now we have so little time.
Oh, I know. Okay.
Can I
Okay,
grasp?
absolutely, absolutely.
Because we've been talking about some pretty serious stuff.
Yes.
I just told you, I got this from the Mamaroneck Library.
Funniest book.
OMG. I laughed out loud. My
Never
husband was
disappoints.
sleeping, and I said, oh my God, I can't do that. It's this crazy Florida thing, Miami. He's always involved with hoodlums and kidnappings and issues. It is a very funny read, and I really, Carl Hyacin, Razor Girls. So I'd like to suggest that one. One other very quick, because I want to give you guys time to wrap up, is Commonwealth. This is a family story. It starts with a christening, and there's two different families, and this one fellow who's married kisses the mother of the child being christened, and it starts a whole big issue with the families. And you go through this whole family thing, so well written.
This book is winning all kinds of awards.
And Patchett, and I highly recommend it. Last one I haven't read, but my friend Susie said I had to say, you couldn't put it down. She said it scared the hell out of her. A nurse, an African-American nurse, and a baby in a hospital where infants they're taking care of them in the nursery, and one of the infants has a emergency, and the parents are white supremacists. They don't want her anywhere near and it ends up being a lawsuit, and you can't put it down. She said it's the best book Jodi Picoult has written.
Jodi Picoult has written so many wonderful books, and this one, I've only just started it. It's outstanding, outstanding.
Now, because we have so little time, I want you to go to this, Laura,
Yes.
which I adore every year.
We both have wonderful gift guides. Both the Larchmont Library and the Mamaroneck Library have wonderful gift guides for adults and children. You can pick them up at either of our libraries, or you can go on the internet where you will find those booklets.
And we want to thank our staff too for all their input and layout and creation of these, because these take a tremendous amount of work.
Oh my goodness, they're
and
so
we're
well
so
done.
happy to be able to pass these out to people, and you can take them and go to your local bookstore and purchase lots of nice gifts.
I know also that you guys have unbelievable programs all the way through December. We're just about to start in December, which is why I'm so thrilled we did the show in enough time to buy these gifts.
That's right.
We have local bookstores, Anderson, voracious readers. Please shop locally. It's so important.
It is.
And they are so helpful.
They're wonderful.
And we have used book stores and carts in our libraries too. So
Oh, great.
if you're on a budget, you can come
that's
in
right.
and pick
That's
something
right.
I
up.
want to know the plans of what's happening, because we talked about this. Mamaroneck, you have a website.
We do, absolutely. And there's all kinds of wonderful things that are going on, especially during the school breaks. We both have all kinds of children's programs and programs for all ages, really.
And I get emails from you guys all the time. Library.
Everybody needs to sign up and get their
I really appreciate
the
those.
information about the programs and services at both of our libraries. We both send out regular announcements.
So your website is?
www.mamaronecklibrary.org.
Okay, and you are?
www.larchmontlibrary.org.
So you can't make a mistake
can't
there.
miss
Not too bad.
Okay, we have just a few minutes. Anything that we didn't cover that you're dying to cover?
Oh,
Take a look.
I had a sad one actually to talk about, and I don't usually like to read or even talk about sad books. There's too much sadness in the world, but this one was so beautifully written that it just astounded me with the language and the crystalline sort of effortless
Name is?
input into the situation. The book is called When Breath Becomes Air.
Oh, God. By
Yes. It's by Paul Kalanithi.
And he
in
was a young man with
He
cancer.
was a young neurosurgeon who developed lung cancer. And this is his story of going from becoming a neurosurgeon to becoming a patient. And
I
there's
heard it
no
was
surprise in the
it's
beginning.
not a
It
big
says
book. It's a
quick read.
It's a quick read. The foreword is written by Abraham Verghese, who wrote Cutting for Stone, and it's just like a spectacular little gem of a book.
Yeah.
And Laura,
I have one last potential hostess book.
Quick.
10 Restaurants That Changed America by Paul Friedman. It's a great read. Interesting little histories of 10 famous American restaurants.
Any in New York?
And yes.
Oh, good.
And
Great.
a couple,
10 restaurants.
They're not all still open, but it's the history of food in America. And of course, he tells the story of immigration and class and race.
Immigration,
through those restaurants. And there's a couple of recipes.
all I
too.
can tell you is this is my favorite, best thing. I can't thank you enough for sitting down. I send this to everyone. You can see this on LMC TV's website. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is one of our favorite things to do, too.
Great. I love being with you.
Yeah.
And to all of you out there, buy these books and happy holidays. See you soon next time on Know Your Neighbors.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sunny.
Thank you.